Our 360 News sat down with Secretary of State John Merrill to get his position on absentee voting during the COVID-19 pandemic, how his office is making a difference, and just how many people have registered to vote during his tenure. Trust me, he knows the exact number. Secretary Merrill, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us here on our 360 News. Having a great day?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me as your guest.
No problem, no problem. Let's jump right into it. So you've been involved in Alabama politics for quite a while, over a decade. Have you seen things change over the years?
Well, look, you talk about me being in an elective office for a decade, but I've been around politics my entire life. My father was the circuit clerk of my county and probate judge in my county for the first 18 years of my life. And I grew up in the courthouse, so I've been watching politics and paying attention to the things that have been going on my entire life. And of course, when I was at the University of Alabama, I had the privilege to serve as president of the student body. And I don't know how familiar you or your viewers are with the SGA at Alabama, but there's a Greek machine there that block votes to elect candidates that have been endorsed by the machine, and it's only been defeated 8 times in the history of the university, and I was number 7. And so I learned how to put coalitions together and to do things like that very early in my political life. But you know, as far as where our nation is today, there are a lot of changes that have taken place, just like there's a lot of changes that have taken place in Alabama over the last decade. Some of them good, some of them not so good. But I think it's important to note that things are always going to change, and you have to find a way to stay relevant, you have to find a way to stay effective, and you have to find a way to make sure you're meeting the needs of the people that you've been elected to serve if you want to hold elective office.
Awesome. So you were part of the IVA at Alabama, or?
Well, when I was in school, we had the Alabama Student Party, which was put together to try to elect independents. And I basically funded that because I was able to raise the resources to promote my candidacy for president and the other candidacies of the executive officers and some of the Senate candidates that were running too. And our goal was to try to educate students about why it was important to work against and vote against the machine candidates, because they're only going to promote what was in the best interest of the Greek students on campus and not all 16,000 students that were enrolled at that time. Now, as you know, there's like 38,000 students on our campus. So it's a lot different than it was when I was there.
Gotcha. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, my friend.
So recently, the ACLU of Alabama wrote a letter requesting that your office create a no-excuse absentee ballot.
Right.
First, can you explain to our audience what a no-excuse absentee ballot is?
Absolutely. You know, in the state of Alabama, we have absentee voting, but it's excused absentee voting, which means if you decide to vote absentee, which is not voting at the polls on election day, you can do that, but you have to give a reason why you're doing it. And then once you get your ballot, you actually have to have 2 witnesses signed to say that you actually completed your ballot and you're returning it. So in the absentee process, it's important to note that these excuses, some of which were very outdated, and in 2017, we brought legislation to the legislature for them to consider to simplify the process and to make it more effective. State Senator Roger Smitherman, who is an African-American Democrat from Birmingham, is the one that carried that bill for me in 2017, again in 18, and in 19 when we finally got it passed. But it strengthened the requirements for integrity and credibility in the process. And Senator Smitherman had seen where the absentee process had been used in a negative way to negatively impact people by cheating, and he wanted to prevent that. So he's helped us. And one of the things that we did was restructure the excuses to make them more realistic and to make them more reasonable. We have excuses now that say, I'll be out of the county on election day. I have to work a double shift. I'm incarcerated. Because a lot of people don't understand that even if you're in jail, you can still vote. as long as you have not been convicted of a disqualifying felony. And we want each and every eligible U.S. citizen that's a resident of Alabama to be registered to vote and to obtain a photo ID. Now, to bring it back to what you're talking about with the ACLU, because of the coronavirus, a number of people have said, look, let's just have no excuse absentee voting for this cycle because some people are afraid to go to the polls. And we know that they are. But what they may not have realized, and what we try to communicate, and we believe we've done it effectively, but we want to continue to promote it any way we can, is whenever our state is in a declared state of emergency, and we are now because of the governor's declaration related to the coronavirus, then Title 17-11-3 gives me, as the Secretary of State, the opportunity and the power to declare a reason for people to vote absentee if they so desire. And so we've encouraged people to mark the box that says, I'm ill or infirmed, and I will be unable to appear at my polling place on election day. And if they check that box, and anyone in the state can check that box, they can vote absentee without any question or without equivocation.
Gotcha. Now, you said something very poignant there. What efforts are underway within your office to ensure that Alabamians, the ones that are eligible,
Right.
are able to participate in the democratic process?
Right, that's a great question. You know, one of the commitments that I made when I was campaigning, and since I've been serving as Alabama's 53rd Secretary of State for the last 5 years, 4 months, and 15 days, is to ensure that each and every eligible U.S. citizen that's a resident of Alabama is given the opportunity to become a registered voter and to obtain a photo ID so they can exercise their right to vote in the democratic process. Now, the first thing that we did was to contact all 140 members of the Alabama legislature and ask them to give us 3 locations in their district where they'd like us to go to conduct a voter registration photo ID drive. And we gave them examples. We said, we'll go to the Walmart in Pelham on a Saturday between 10 and 4. And you know why we do that, because everybody's there.
Yeah.
And we said, we'll go to Brown Chapel Church in Selma on Sunday between 10 and 2 for the very same reason. We don't want to conduct a voter registration drive at Brown Chapel Church in Selma on Tuesday night between 5 and 7. That makes it difficult for people to participate. We're trying to make it easier. And then we reached out to all the probate judges and we said, look, give us a can't miss festival, event, or activity in your community where we need to go to promote voter registration and photo ID. And so we've been to Chilton County Peach Festival in Clanton. We've been to the Peanut Festival in Dothan, Peanut Butter Festival in Brundage. We've been to the Rattlesnake Rodeo in Opp. We go to the Magic City Classic in Birmingham, where Alabama State and Alabama A&M play every year. We want to make it easy for people to participate in the process. But even with doing that, and ensuring that we visit all 67 counties at least one time a year with our mobile ID unit, where we go and just set up an event if we haven't been told by the legislators or probate judges where we should go. I still didn't think we were reaching everybody, so we needed a media effort to make sure that we were promoting this effectively. So I thought, who could we get that would help us, that everybody would listen to? So the 2 most recognizable people in the state of Alabama are Nick Saban and Gus Malzahn because
Absolutely.
of their positions at Alabama and Auburn. And so in 2015, they both made commercials for me, and they both allowed me to use their likeness on posters. In 2016, we had Charles Barkley and Deontay Wilder. And 2017, Dr. Mae Jemison, first African-American female astronaut, and Jessica Proctor, who was Miss Alabama that year. 2018, we got Rick and Bubba, radio personalities, and Taylor Hicks. 2019, we asked Jamie Johnson, a country music recording star, and we had a reenactor portray our first governor, William White Bibb. In 2020, we're featuring the women of the Alabama legislature, because this is 100 years of women's suffrage, and 3 veterans who we will promote later on this summer and into the fall. One is a 94-year-old veteran who was in World War II and Korea, and then Gary Michael Rose, who is one of 2 living Medal of Honor recipients from the state of Alabama who lives in Huntsville, and Dr. Regina Benjamin, who was the Surgeon General of the United States for President Obama during his term in office. Now, With all of that, I still wasn't sure we'd reach everybody. So in January of 16, we initiated an effort for people to be able to register electronically. So you can go to your computer and at alabamavotes.gov, you can register to vote or change your voter registration record as long as you have a valid Alabama driver's license. Or you can download our mobile application at Vote for Alabama and register to vote for the first time or change your voter registration record. Now, your next question is going to be, that's a lot. Y'all promoted this wildly. You surely have something to show for it. So what has happened? Since January the 19th, 2015, we've registered 1,517,888 new voters as of today. We now have a state record, 3,594,695 registered voters as of today. 96% of all eligible African Americans in Alabama are registered to vote. 91% of all eligible white Alabamians are registered to vote, and 94% of all eligible Alabamians are registered to vote. We're very, very proud of that because we just want to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. But it also should be noted that in that same period of time, in the last 5 elections that we've had, we've broken every record in the history of the state for voter participation. And we've never had a single time or one reported incident where anyone's been denied access to the polls or the opportunity to participate because they didn't have a valid Alabama photo ID.
That is a lot. So you guys are really pushing voter registration.
Yes, sir. And participation.
And participation.
Yes, sir.
That's going to do it for part 1 of our sit down with John Merrill, the Secretary of State. Stay tuned because we'll be posting part 2 of Our 360 Degrees with John Merrill here on Our 360 News.